Well guys, it has now been officially announced. The general Nintendo Direct that we have been waiting for is coming tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Yep, it's real, and a lot of you guys thought I was just making stuff up and thought there's absolutely no way. There was too many comments for me to even count. All I'm gonna say is, when there's certain sources that say things, you believe those certain sources. But yes, thanks to Nate the Hate and Jeff Grubb for pretty much giving us all this information, we are indeed having a Nintendo Direct, which is literally in just 24 hours. Now, according to Nintendo, this is going to be a 50-minute long presentation with a Nintendo Treehouse that follows that's 95 minutes in length. Now, this Direct isn't as long as the last couple we've been getting, which were both an hour long, but it's longer than the normal ones that we used to get, which are about 45 minutes. So it's right in between, but I don't think it needs an hour-long presentation to be good, because in fact, the last two Nintendo Directs that we got were both an hour long, and I felt like they were some of the weaker ones in my opinion. Now, in my last couple of videos, I've already talked about predictions and some of the big games that could be here. I'll recap some of that and just kind of give up some hype that I have for this Direct and talk about, some of my expectations. But before we dive into that, please make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe, because I'm going to be live streaming this thing and we're going to be covering everything that comes out of this Direct. You're going to want to be here. Plus, we're trying to reach our goal of 400,000 subscribers. So stop what you're doing. Let's see how many people we can get to like and subscribe on today's video. It will only take a second, but thank you so much for your support. Thank you for helping us reach almost 400K. And let's jump into the Nintendo Direct predictions. Now, I'm going to give you guys pretty much a run-through recap of all my predictions and a percentage for how likely I think that game has a chance to appear. But before we do so, let's talk about the current state of Nintendo right now, because I feel like this is a very critical Nintendo Direct, and I know I say this all the time. I've said this for both Directs of the Switch 2. I still believe that, and I feel like they completely dropped the ball with the last Direct, and you're starting to see it. The sales numbers for the software and the hardware itself is starting to slowly drop now. It looks like everything was front-loaded with Switch 2, and people are all waiting for those massive games to play and look forward to, so Nintendo really needs to impress here. Not only that, but their stock is still extremely dropped from where it was a year ago, and on top of that, Nintendo is raising the price of Switch 2 to $500 this September. They really have to do a great job convincing people to buy a Switch 2 for this holiday and maybe even for the start of next year. They have to come in swinging all hands on deck. They can't afford to have a mediocre or especially a terrible Nintendo Direct here. I'm actually expecting some pretty big things. I'm keeping my hopes low, but still, Nintendo needs to deliver here. On top of all of that, Nintendo hasn't had a general Nintendo Direct in 9 months, since last September. So we are absolutely due for some goodies, so hopefully Nintendo does come through with this show. It's a pretty big one. Now, I want to start off with what we know. This first batch of games is going to be everything that we already have confirmed from Nintendo, and I'll give a percentage for how likely I think each is going to happen, which all of these are going to be pretty high, and also I'll give you my exact predictions for that game. Now, for Star Fox, it comes out just a couple of weeks after this show at the end of the month, I think on June 25th, so they're probably not going to show a lot of this game. I do think it's going to be here, though. I say it's about a 90% chance we see Star Fox, but I have a pretty crazy prediction with this game where I feel like they are going to have an entire extra mode with some extra stages focused on James McCloud, Fox's dad, and his story, kind of like a small prequel game before we actually get into the contents of the main game. Because they gave us a full cutscene and everything with James McCloud, I'd be very shocked if there's no gameplay with him. Next, we have Splatoon Raiders, which I think has a 100% chance of being here. We don't know too much about this game. We only got one little overview about a month or two ago, so I definitely think it's time for us to get about a 2 or 3 minute showcase showing us what makes this game worth it. I think they're going to show that this game is a semi-open world, allowing you to pick a destination and set out on an adventure exploring that region, kind of like a 3D sandbox Mario, like 64 Sunshine and stuff, where we can just fully explore a whole little subsection of the map. There'll be bonus challenge rooms like little kettle pot missions from the main campaigns of the main games, and we'll see some new boss battles, maybe even a glimpse of the main villain, showing off some new lore and some new creatures with the Salmonid. They'll probably also go in depth with how the kind of crafting mechanic works in this game, and I'm sure they're going to show this off in the Treehouse as one of the games they play. Rhythm Heaven Groove will absolutely be here. There has not been much marketing for this game at all. The only thing that they showed us outside of a super small reveal trailer is this one game about this woman in the kitchen catching fruits and vegetables. So yeah, we absolutely need to see more about this game. I'm really stoked for it, but I want to see a big kind of overview of this game, maybe showing off more of the mini games. I'm sure this could also be in the Nintendo Treehouse, maybe. It's a rhythm game. I don't know if they're going to be able to play that live. They might need a better way to focus on the sound or something. I don't know. But yes, this game will have over 100 mini games and barely beat out Mega Mix, which had like 108. There will be some returning games, but mostly new ones. And this game has somewhat of a stupid story-like thing to follow along, kind of like Mega Mix did. Not a story, but more of a linear progression through the mini games. It's going to be slightly better side modes this time around, like fun little multiplayer and co-op games and rhythm toys returning again. But it's not going to be anything mind-blowing for people that aren't Rhythm Heaven fans. It's just going to be like a really cool new Rhythm Heaven game. Now, one of the last ones we have on here is Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. And I know this is crazy, 110% likely to be here. Yeah, I mean, come on. This is one of their bigger games coming out, probably still this summer. According to Nate the Hate, he said it's going to be this summer. I'm expecting it to release in August. And as somebody that's only played 3 Houses so far, I am pretty excited about this game, but I don't know how much to predict and what to predict from it. So all I'm going to say is the game looks great. It looks like it's a true return to 3 Houses and everyone loves it. It has relationship mechanics and interactions once again, and there is a lot more to do in the overworld this time around that adds some new gameplay ideas outside of battles. But overall, it looks really good, and I can see Nintendo spending a giant chunk of time on this game. Probably around the middle of the show. They could even start the show with it. They've done it in the past, but yeah, this is going to get a major segment of tomorrow's show. And I'll also talk about Duskbloods real quick. I do think it's going to get shown off here. I think there's about a 90% chance it's supposed to come out this year, so Nintendo definitely needs to talk about this thing. It is a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive, so I did throw it on here. I'm not talking about many other third-party games here, except for really this one, which is technically yes and no. But anyways, my prediction is one where I think Duskbloods is going to disappoint. Yes, I hope it actually ends up being good, but I can see a lot of people comparing it directly to something like Elden Ring and saying this is the, Elden Ring Lite or the weaker version, especially non-Nintendo fans teasing it being on only Switch 2 hardware. I can see it being a big topic of discussion for a lot of people. I don't think the game is actually going to be bad. I just think a lot of people are going to be underwhelmed and just complain about it because, of course, Nintendo bad, Switch 2 bad, Switch 2 underpowered, and it's just going to be a big topic of discussion, so get ready. And I think this game is going to release around Halloween in October. Alright, now we can move on to things that have been rumored or leaked, and hopefully this is the last time you guys have to see this Cryzen X gameplay of this Ocarina of Time remake mock-up, because hopefully we actually get the full trailer. Yes, I think there's about a 95%, almost 100% chance that we are getting Ocarina of Time remake revealed here. This is a game that's been rumored by almost every source in the industry for the last 2 years, and even sources that correctly gotten a lot of things like Star Fox and tomorrow's Nintendo Direct prediction correct, like Nate the Hate, who said this is going to be a big game of this holiday, and I think this is exactly where we see it. The show's 50 minutes long. I'm not sure if we're going to get anything else Zelda related here. Are they going to fully explore a Zelda anniversary celebration? We'll talk about that in a second, but yes, I think Ocarina of Time is going to be the major Zelda celebration game, and I think that's really all they need to do, honestly. If it's a really ambitious remake of Ocarina of Time, it's going to be a massive hit this year. This will 100% be a show starter or a show ender. I'm hoping it starts the show so we get something else new at the end, but I can see this being a pretty ambitious remake. Not super ambitious to what a lot of people are wanting, like maybe new dungeons and completely revamped boss battles, but we will see a lot of new things. Maybe some boss battles are remade, some of the dungeons look a little bit different, but yeah, nothing super crazy. Like, I'm not talking about a Final Fantasy VII remake type of change. Like, we're not getting 3 new games to tell this story or anything like that, but it's going to be pretty ambitious. It's going to be exciting nevertheless. I do think it's going to take the Breath of the Wild art style, which a lot of people aren't going to like. That's just kind of my little prediction there. Let me be clear, I'm really hoping it's not. I kind of hope it's like that Wii U test footage of Twilight Princess they released with the giant spider boss. Personally, I would want something a little bit more realistic than Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom shell shaded, but I just have this feeling that Nintendo is in love with that era and they're going to keep pushing it, so we'll see. Now, since Nate the Hate said it, I feel like it's definitely something that's higher than 75%. I'm just a little iffy on this one still, but apparently there is going to be a Pikmin 4 Switch 2 edition coming this summer, and I could definitely see that happening. And my prediction, if this does happen, is in fact it's going to be an extra story that maybe follows Louis and the great ancient Sirehound, or whatever that dog creature was, the final boss, and you're pretty much going to go through their story and maybe 1 or 2 new areas, have a bunch of new boss battles, and I think it's going to be a fun single-player expansion. I'm hoping it's that and not just more Dandori stuff, because I'm not a fan. I don't really care about that stuff, and I can see this releasing sometime in August. I think it's going to have a small brief section in the Direct, which would be like a minute or 2. Nin10doland also said a new Switch Sports would be coming, or something with Switch Sports. Now, I gave it a 50% simply because I think there is going to be something Switch Sports, but it's a 50-50 on whether it's a new game like a Switch 2 Sports or a Switch Sports Resort, or it's another Switch 2 edition. I feel like they'd be doing way too many ports, remakes, remasters, Switch 2's editions by the end of this show. It might get chaotic, so I'm predicting it's going to be a brand new Switch Sports. It's going to be a Switch Sports Resort. Tons of new sports on a brand new island for us to traverse and do things and actually like hang out with our friends and stuff on this island. We can walk, ride bikes, do all kinds of stuff. And we can even bring over our mascots and avatars from Switch 1 Sports, which means you can choose still between a Mii or those new Miis. And the game is releasing sometime in November or spring of 2027. It looks really, really cool. People are actually really excited for this one. It looks like they actually gave effort. That's my prediction. It's hopium, but yes, that's my prediction. And there's also been some whispers of a Switch 2 edition of Xenoblade 2. I think Nin10doland did mention that he's heard something about this for this year. Don't quote me on that one for sure, though. But yes, this is something that sounds like it should happen. I don't know how much new content will be added since the game has already gotten DLC, but I can definitely see this being a quick, small announcement for something later this year to fill in one of the last months of the year, like one of those November or December releases. But then for our last category, we have what's new. What are going to be the newer announcements that we haven't got leaked, rumored, or even know about? Well, let's start off with Zelda's Anniversary, because if we do get the Ocarina of Time remake, could we be getting anything else as well? Maybe they start the show similarly to how they did the Mario Anniversary. I don't think they are, because this show is not an hour long, it's only 50 minutes, which means they're probably going to keep it short and sweet. And they did it for the 35th anniversary for Zelda as well. It was a pretty quick little overview of some things coming out like Skyward Sword HD and a new trailer for the new Legend of Zelda. But what else are they going to show? Maybe they have some NSO drops like Twilight Princess or Four Swords Adventures coming to GameCube. Maybe we'll get like a 15-second animated logo title card showing off the brand new Zelda movie. Maybe showing off the cast for Ganondorf, Impa, Navi, Link's sister perhaps, maybe even King of Hyrule. Just giving us some information about the movie could definitely happen here. Or maybe even a sneak peek at the next Zelda game. Nintendo has been no stranger at showing Zelda games super early. I mean, we are 3 years since Tears, so it definitely could happen. But regardless, I'm going to loop everything into one whole category and say a small Zelda anniversary celebration of some sort? Yeah, it's pretty likely. We get something Kirby every year, so I either think we're going to get a spin-off or some type of remake. If it's a remake, it's probably going to be of Triple Deluxe or Planet Robobot, maybe with some added content with like Suzy or Taranza from those games. But I'm thinking more along the lines of a spin-off this time around. I'm thinking we could get something like Kirby Battle Royale or Kirby Fighters in 3D. I know Kirby Battle Royale was already kind of 3D, but it was this weird top-down thing. But I'm talking more like a Kirby Fighters or Kirby Clash in full 3D like the Forgotten Land, or some type of mode like an arena 3D game, allowing us to fight tons of past bosses, but now in 3D with different power-ups from Kirby and the Forgotten Land would be pretty cool, because I want them to do a lot more with this 3D stuff. It's awesome, and it's sold so well with Forgotten Land, it would just be a no-brainer. But I think the odds of us getting something Kirby here is not terrible. Now, I still think there's room for potentially one or maybe 2 more bigger games. There at least has to be one massive game outside of the Ocarina of Time remake. And I feel like one of those games could be Luigi's Mansion 4 for this holiday alongside Zelda. It's been about 7 years now. We don't know what Next Level Games has been working on. It feels like this might be the game that we're all like, ooh, wow, at the end of the show. The more and more I think about what other holiday game could go alongside Zelda this year, this is the only one that really makes sense to me. So I actually think there's a pretty decent chance of this happening. Especially if 3D Mario is next year, it makes more sense to get Luigi's Mansion out now so that way next year can be focused on Mario. I don't know. I'm just really feeling this one. I feel like this is going to be Nintendo's big game of the show. Some predictions I had is the game looks seriously incredible, with even better lighting, it's darker, creepier, and Luigi has tons of new gadgets and power-ups that he can catch Ghost with. EGAD is going to be his co-op partner like Luigi was, but this time you can switch to him or have your partner be him in order to do tinkering or messing around with like electronics. Perhaps there's even a Robo Luigi or Robo EGAD that's his partner instead, but it's set in a giant mansion with a giant themed area around that you can freely traverse outside the mansion as well. This time we have to save more than just Mario, Peach, and the Toads, because you have Bowser, Daisy, Donkey Kong, Wario, Waluigi, maybe even Pauline, and each of them will give you some sort of new power-up once you save them, and the game will be coming this October just in time for Halloween with Dusk Bloods. Now it's time for our pie in the sky predictions. Games that are probably not going to happen, but I do want to bring them up just in case there's a small chance. And we got to talk about some other major games. If Nintendo wants to show off a big game for maybe still this holiday, or maybe a massive game to start 2027, remember, Nintendo still is trying to convince a lot of people to buy Switch 2s, and there's a lot of audiences out there that still do not see a game on Switch 2 that's worth going out buying a almost $500 console for. That includes games like a 3D Mario, a Smash Brothers, Animal Crossing. So let's jump into it, shall we? A brand new 3D Mario. It's sad that I gotta put this in pie in the sky, but unfortunately, I just don't think it's happening. Nate the Hate just had a recent podcast about his predictions, and he's predicting it's not going to be here, and so was his co-host. So, yeah, I know it's not his leak or anything like that. It's just a prediction, but yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be here, which is just so painful, because what in the world could they be cooking up with this game that's taking so long? I mean, just a small reveal trailer would be so amazing to have, even if it's just a picture of Mario standing front of the horizon looking at the landscape. Like, that's all I would actually need at this point, and just giving us a 2027 release date. I did have it at 10% chance of happening, but the only reason I moved it up another 10 is simply due to the fact that Nintendo is raising the price of their console, and they are going to be struggling to get people interested in this console. What incentive do I have to go out and buy this $500 console? They're really going to need to push it, so there is a slightly better chance of this happening, but I'm still saying it's not going to be here, which is painful, but I'm already preparing my heart, so that way I'm not upset. What about a brand new Super Smash Brothers? I think this one's even lower. I think there's a slight chance, but man, with Sakurai just finishing up Kirby Air Riders, I really don't know about this. Now, Nintendo pretty much always had a new Smash Brothers or a 3D Mario within the second year of a console's release, and we are now officially in the second year. So, I mean, it's definitely time, that's for sure. But if Bowser's Fury and Donkey Kong Bonanza taught me anything, is if there's other games that are in the way, it's definitely going to push the one that you're looking for way, way back. That's why we still haven't gotten a 3D Mario. And I think the same thing goes for Smash. I think we're still going to be waiting simply due to the fact that we just got Kirby Air Riders. I think Sakurai could have been working on both at the same time, but I still think it's going to be another at least 2 years until we see this thing, which sucks to even think about. But yeah, I would love to be wrong here. What better way to have a June Nintendo Direct than have a big Smash reveal? And if it is here, it better be a new game, like a full rebooted game or something, instead of a Switch 2 edition of Smash Ultimate. Please do not do that. I cannot go back to that game again. It's been 8 years. And I know this is absolutely berserk, but for some reason, I feel like there's a higher chance that we'd see the next mainline Zelda before 3D Mario and Smash, which is crazy when it's only been 3 years for Zelda and 8+ years for the other two. But you know, Nintendo, they love showing off their Zelda games. They love hyping these things up well in advance and giving us things to look forward to, which I love, by the way. I wish they did that with more of their franchises. But there's a small chance because it's Zelda's anniversary. Not to mention, they've done this in the past with both Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and other games as well, giving us a little sneak peek tease. So honestly, who knows? Especially if Nintendo decides to just dedicate a good chunk of the show to the anniversary, and they're like, everything's all together in this 15-minute segment with Ocarina of Time, some small Zelda ports and stuff, and then they end it with a tease for the next mainline game, at least giving us maybe like a look at the art style, maybe what Link looks like. That's all I would really want, but still, that would mean it's at least 3 to 4 years out still. I also don't think we're seeing Animal Crossing here, because we just got a free update for New Horizons to start this year, plus we got like 2 other life sims with Pokemon Pokopia, and we also had Tomodachi Life, so having yet again another one of these games announced within a 6-month time frame would be nuts. I do not think Nintendo is going to announce this game at least anytime soon. Yeah, unfortunately, Animal Crossing fans, I do not think it's time. I have heard some talk of a new 2D Wario game coming, but I also doubt that. I just don't see that happening anytime soon. Nintendo loves making WarioWare games, and it has been a while since Wario Land Shake It, so I don't know. I'm just not feeling it right now. Personally, I would love a new 3D Wario, like another Wario World game, but anything Wario Adventure-like, I don't think we have a chance of it happening anytime soon, which just sucks. I honestly think there's a decent chance we could get a new Metroid announcement here. Yes, we just got Metroid Prime 4 last December, but it sold very, very poorly, and it was received kind of poorly. So I feel like Nintendo might want to hurry up and get out a game that a lot of Metroid fans are going to like, which is a new 2D game, potentially even by Mercury Steam again. Last one we got was Metroid Dread. That was back in 2021, 5 years ago, so it's about time for a new 2D Metroid. There's also been some talk about maybe even a Super Metroid remake, so I think something Metroid actually has a decent chance here, and to be more specific, something 2D Metroid. I think 3D might be on hold for a while thanks to Metroid Prime 4, which sucks, but that's just the way things go. Now, this one pains me to say, but I feel like there's a 0.01% chance that we'd get something Kid Icarus here. I gotta put it on here every single time because there's still a hope of mine that we'll see Kid Icarus Uprising at least come to Nintendo Switch one day, but I don't know. I'm starting to lose hope for good on this one, which is like one of my only last Nintendo wishes. This, and I feel like 3D Mario. We know 3D Mario will come. Maybe, but we don't know if Kid Icarus will ever come back again, so hopefully we get something Kid Icarus, but I just don't think there's a chance. I guess you could also say the same thing for F-Zero right now. And the last thing I'll finish with is Mario Kart World DLC. This is something that a lot of people are actively waiting for, and I know it's one thing that I'm waiting for to give me a reason to dive back into this game, at least add some Knockout Tour Cups, maybe a couple new characters, and maybe some new changes to the intermissions, and I would come back. But I would love new content altogether, brand new tracks, brand new parts of the map, something to really make me come back. I don't even mind spending money on it, but this game needs some sort of an update. It just feels like it's an absolute barren wasteland right now. I think there's still a 50% chance that Nintendo decides to wait another couple of years for some reason like they did with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. There's maybe even a chance that they do reveal it. Who knows? It's really just a coin flip in my opinion. But either way, I'm going to say this. Keep your expectations in check, but be excited for tomorrow. Have wishes and things you really want to see. Some of my greatest time of being a Nintendo fan was waiting the day before a Nintendo Direct, trying to get sleep the night before. Experience that. Enjoy this, because we don't know how often we get Nintendo Directs anymore. I mean, it's been 9 months since the last one, so we don't know when the next one will be. Will they have one in September, or will they completely skip it? We really do not know. So enjoy this. Be hype. That's what it's like to be a Nintendo fan. But just keep your expectations somewhat reasonable, and you'll have a great time. And if Nintendo botches the show, it's not your fault. It shouldn't be your fault because you expected more from your brand new console in year 1, even though technically we just started year 2, but you get what I'm saying. Have expectations, be excited. I hope you guys enjoy the show tomorrow. Make sure you keep it here. We're going to live stream it. It's going to be a blast. And I hope you all have a blessed rest of your day and night. Try to get some sleep, guys. See ya.